More like this, this Delta State Labour Party gubernatorial candidate is just too sound. What did it happen? Sef, Labour Party and take gather on herself. Come like say they gather all the intelligent politicians for this country, put inside Labour Party. Anyway, we there, Mona just watch this interview and listen to this man. This man is just too intelligent. Delta people, how far? Make we support this man for Delta State because we want new faces for this country to lead us for this country. Now, new faces we want for our leadership positions for this country. Delta people, how wanna see this man? Watch him and make sure you share the video.
Let's start on a note of clarification. Over the weekend, there was some story flying about, some people alleging that you are not qualified to run in this race as a governorship candidate of your party for the simple reason that it is alleged you were indicted by an administrative panel of inquiry. And as a result, having been indicted, you have no strong basis to say you still want to be governor of Delta State. I'm not too sure you are aware of this, but if you are aware of it, could you help us clarify and speak to it?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. There's no truth in that allegation, and I've addressed it in various fora since it came to my attention. And I say that if there's any truth in it, they should publish the indictment. There's no truth in it. What they're just doing is trying to distract the electorate from voting the way they see that the Labour Party is going to go, that the electorate is going to go. So there's no truth in that story at all.
All right, Dikin Pella. So now that you're running, I would like to talk more about your 8-point agenda. You've spoken about this a number of times in terms of how you want to liberate Delta State from, as you've said, 24 years of bad leadership. Please share with us your plans.
Okay. It's become, they now say it's an 8-point agenda. However, it's a 3-stage plan. Okay, the vision is to build a better Delta where righteousness, harmony, and prosperity reigns. Now, it's deeply rooted in the from consumption to production vision of our principle, but it's however localized, determining that the biggest problem in Delta is that of the impunity that has reigned in the land. And so we are talking about enthroning righteousness. Righteousness here simply means doing the right thing. All right? And so we're looking at enthroning accountability and integrity, transparency in governance, fairness, equity, and justice in government, reorientating the values of our people, encouraging mass participation in government, and eliminating waste and corruption in government. We believe that when we enthrone righteousness the way we have planned it, we will be able to create harmony. But we'll enhance the security, the peace and harmony of the land by working with the federal government because we believe that Peter Obi will eventually become president. We will have federal, state, and community policing. So we will put in place well-equipped state and community policing to enhance the security of our land. Now, when we do those two things, we are then able to create a situation or an environment where prosperity can thrive. But we won't just let it happen. We won't leave it to chance. We will engender prosperity. But before I talk about the 8 key drivers of prosperity, let me say specifically that most people will talk about building roads, healthcare, schools. Those are typical things that our politicians will say. But they are things that are the right of the citizens. And so I won't promise that because it is what I owe the citizens. It's not a privilege. I will assure Deltans that they will have the best healthcare, the best roads, and the best education. What I promise also is to drive the economy of Delta, engender prosperity through 8 key prosperity drivers. The first is that we will pay a living wage. All right, and what I mean by a living wage is that today minimum wage is 30,000 naira, which is 1,000 naira a day. By the time you pay transport fare to work, you will not be able to pay school fees or house rent or so on. That is why corruption thrives in our land. So we were going to progressively increase minimum wage to 100,000 naira a month, and that way people will be able to live properly and have disposable income that will trickle down into the economy. The second thing we will do is ensure fiscal autonomy of our local governments, to ensure that what is supposed to come to the local governments come to them. We will improve the quality of people that serve in our local governments. We will make them accountable by publishing what comes to them, and the people can then hold them accountable, and we can use those local governments as development centers. The third thing is a social investment scheme through which we will provide 1 million naira each for 100 people in every single local government of Delta every month in interest-free loans payable over 4 years for people to start businesses and expand their existing businesses. The fourth thing is power and gas utilization. Delta State has 40% of Nigeria's gas reserves. So we're going to, under that pillar, we would encourage we'll work with private sector companies to stop flaring of our gas. And then we'll use the gas to ensure we have 24-hour power around Delta State using the concept of distributed generation. The fifth thing is that we would develop 10 new cities across Delta. Now, why would we want to do that? Delta State has become one huge slum. There's no development plan, all right? So we're going to use those 10 cities, 10 model cities, where you have everything required for model living to attract private sector investment. There will be destination cities with one destination attraction that will attract tourists. There will be agro-based industries with internet connectivity and everything that will ensure that people can come to invest. They will have central sewage. Now, the fifth thing is social housing. So those cities will come with affordable housing that will ensure people can buy through mortgage financing. And then we will revive our moribund industries and we revive our seaports. By the time we do those things, it's a holistic plan that will drive and engender prosperity in Delta State.
Okay. Mr. Kampela, you've said a lot. You want to do a lot for a state that is highly indebted, running into hundreds of billions.
Yeah.
One, how are you going to get the money for all of this? Two, how much is all of this of your plan going to cost? Three, how are you going to wriggle your way through the fact that some of these things you want to do, they are already preset infrastructure on ground? Because Delta State is a state that enjoys some level of infrastructure. I think it's probably the only state that's got 2 airports in this country as we speak today. One built by the private sector in Warri, that used to be formerly Osubi, that Osubi area, Osubi airstrip, and then you've got another one in Asaba. So those 3 things. How much is this plan going to cost? How are you going to make the money? How are you going to pay up the debt as regards this? That's all.
Okay, let me start with the issue of debt. Now, Delta State is a going concern. In every situation, if you take over a company, I'm a businessman, I've run companies. Now, you take over a company that is indebted, you sit down with your bankers, you look at the debt, and you can restructure the debt, especially when you're able to show them a plan. Today, Delta State relies on mainly allocation and IGR. With the plan we have, we're growing a bigger cake that will ensure that what we receive becomes a lot larger. All right, so by the time I sit down with the banks, now we're going to look at those debts because I'm a banker. All right, my background is banking. And when you give debt, okay, when you give out loans, you really are supposed to take steps to ensure that those debts will be payable. And some of those steps include ensuring that the money goes for what it is intended to, because the money is supposed to help improve the capability of the borrower to pay. In the past few 1 year or 2 years, this government has taken debt in the twilight of his administration. We're going to look at some of those debts and determine whether the banks have been negligent in the process of giving out those debts. If that money was not channeled to the use that it was supposed to, it means the bank is negligent. We will not accept those debts. But the ones that are acceptable, we'll sit down with the banks and negotiate them and work out a repayment plan based on the vision that we have and the growth trajectory that we have. The second question you asked is, how do we manage, what is this going to be done in relation to the level of infrastructure we have in Delta State?
No, and the cost of your plan.
Besides the airport.
Cost of your
What are
plan. The cost. I want to
I'll
know the
come back
cost
to that.
and how you are going to raise the money.
Okay, let me deal with that
And I
first.
still have some input as regards how you are going to deal with the
let me deal
debts.
with
I would
that
like to
first.
ask you.
Okay. Now, on the cost, majority of what we're going to do, apart from the social investment scheme, is 120 billion for 4 years, approximately 30 billion a year. In the 2019 budget of Delta, 2019 budget of Delta, we had 30 billion in miscellaneous expenses. Delta State's budget, over 200 billion, about 60% of it is spent for recurrent expenses. Comparable to Borno State, that has only about 100 billion for recurrent expenses. We believe that when we cut waste and corruption, we will be able to take care of the things that are directly attributable to government in my plan are one, the minimum wage. Two, the social investment scheme, which is a loan that is repayable, is a revolving loan. The other things are things that we would attract the private sector to come to Delta. The model cities, now my background is real estate development, one of the things I do. Okay, so what you do is provide the enabling environment, okay, and the basic infrastructure in those model cities that we're talking about that will attract these people to come. Okay, so we believe that it's something that it's doable. Now, the question about the infrastructure. The two airports are very good and they add to the plan that we have. But besides those two airports, our roads are in a shambles. Okay? We have one major road leading from where 70% of Delta people stay to the capital city, okay, where the other 30% stay, the Delta North area, where the other 30% stay. That road has been under development for over 20 years. It's not been finished. That road shows exactly what our infrastructure is across Delta State, okay? Majority of the internal roads are all bad. So it's not true that we have that kind of infrastructure. Besides the two airports, what else do we have?
Okay.
Mr. Pella, let me ask you. You are banking on the fact that the Labour Party did very well in the presidential election of February 25 in Delta State. Did much better than PDP and the APC. And Mr. Peter Obi has been to Delta State to say, according to him, a big thank you to the people who voted for him and to also campaign for you. But what we're told is that the dynamics may be different on March 18, that Labour Party may not gain that kind of momentum. Sheriff Oberewori of the PDP, well, he has the incumbency factor behind him. And then, of course, the APC candidate, Ovie Omo-Agege, will be capitalizing on the fact that the APC won at the center. So, how confident are you that February 25 will be like, March 18? And is it true that the APC has been talking to you to calm down and allow the APC to take victory in Delta State?
Okay, let me start with the second part of your question. It's not true that either the APC or the PDP have been talking to me. And even if they tried to, I would not even listen to them. All right? Now, about the dynamics of the coming election and how confident I am very, very, very confident. Yes, I'm banking on the dynamics and the movement, the obedient movement that we have. But there are two other factors you're not considering. The first is that Deltans are yearning for change. Deltans have been yearning for change for almost 24 years. Okay? Delta has been going from relatively good to bad to worse. That is how I will categorize the last 3 administrations that we have. And if we don't take our time, we will go worse than it. Deltans realize that. And they realize that the 2 choices they have are Otapiapia and Sniper. Whichever one you eat, you die. They have tasted the PDP for 24 years. And they realize that their lives could be better. They want change. Everywhere we go, Deltans are crying for change. This is not about the dynamics at the federal level. This is about the fact that the people are tired. Now, the APC, they realize that they've tasted the APC for 8 years at the federal level, and their lives have gotten worse. But more importantly, Deltans voted overwhelmingly for Peter Obi in the February 25th election. That victory was stolen by the APC. Do you think they will reward them with the state? I doubt it. The sentiments are serious on the ground. We will take our revenge on March the 18th.